There comes a point in every man's life where the world stops being loud for a moment, and in that quiet space, something older than ambition starts speaking, something that doesn't sound like desire or fear, but responsibility, the kind that feels like a hand on the shoulder from a place no one can see. A reminder that existence wasn't meant to be taken lightly, that a man wasn't placed here just to survive, but to stand for something when everyone else folds. And in that silence, there's a question that hits harder than any motivational speech or any self-help line ever could. Can the Creator trust the life being lived right now? Not trust with rewards, not trust with opportunities, but trust with burden, trust with weight, trust with the kind of tasks that reshape destiny. Because a man who becomes reliable in the eyes of something higher doesn't wake up one morning with wings or enlightenment. He wakes up with responsibilities that would break the average. And despite the heaviness, he tightens his grip on the day and moves anyway. Because effort becomes an offering and discipline becomes a form of worship. There's a certain purity in carrying the weight without needing applause, in walking through darkness without needing an audience, in choosing the difficult road even when no one is watching, because that is where a man is forged into someone a higher power can rely on, not through perfection, but through consistency, integrity, and an unshakable refusal to collapse when life tests every inch of resolve. A man becomes dependable the moment he stops chasing validation and starts chasing mastery. The moment he stops waiting for signs and starts becoming the kind of person signs are sent to. The moment he stops blaming storms and learns to command himself through them with a calm that feels almost ancient, as if generations of warriors are standing behind him whispering that this is exactly what he was built for. Being the man God can rely on isn't about sainthood, purity, or flawless moral lines. It's about honoring the mission even when the mission feels thankless. Respecting the grind even when the grind feels invisible, and holding on to a vision even when the path feels impossibly long. Because faith isn't a belief, faith is endurance. Faith is showing up when every part of the mind wants to stay asleep. A man becomes chosen not by miracles but by obedience to the daily demands of evolution, waking up when the body resists, learning when the mind is tired, building when the world doubts, and staying loyal to the purpose carved into his bones long before he knew what greatness felt like. Greatness doesn't ask for perfection. Greatness asks for reliability, the kind of reliability that turns a simple life into a vessel for something significant. There's something sacred about a man who becomes dependable in silence, who fights inner battles without broadcasting every wound, who holds himself accountable without excuses, and who treats discipline not as punishment, but as preparation for the future he knows. Because deep down he can feel that life doesn't place heavy burdens on the unprepared, only on those capable of carrying them. And every time he chooses the harder path, every time he listens to conscience instead of comfort, every time he follows conviction instead of impulse, he earns a kind of trust that no human praise can match, the trust of the Creator. The trust that marks him as someone ready to be tasked with more, as someone ready to become the backbone of fate itself. A man who is relied upon by something divine walks differently, not with arrogance, but with clarity, not with pride, but with purpose. He knows that every challenge is a signal, Every obstacle is a doorway, and every setback is a refinement process sculpting him into someone who cannot be moved by emotion, chaos, or the noise of the world. He understands that character is the true currency of destiny, that consistency is the true language of God, and that the real test was never about avoiding failure, but about rising clean from it every single time, refusing to stay down, refusing to stay lost, refusing to surrender the mission no matter how tired the spirit feels. And somewhere along this relentless path, a shift happens, not loud, not dramatic, but deep, a sense that the universe starts aligning differently, not because the world changed, but because the man changed, because he finally reached a level where heaven could trust him with more, trust him with pain, trust him with blessings, trust him with influence, trust him with responsibility that could crush someone unprepared. Being the man God can rely on is about living in a way where strength becomes a duty, not an accessory, where discipline becomes instinct, not an effort, where ambition becomes clean, not desperate, and where the soul stops begging for comfort and begins demanding growth as the only acceptable state. This is the path where a man walks alone, not because he's isolated, but because greatness rarely travels in crowds. And in that solitude, he becomes sharper, harder, wiser, more disciplined, until even the darkness starts respecting him, because a man who earns divine trust carries a fire that shadows cannot suffocate. And in the end, it's not about being perfect, righteous, or untouchable. It's about being stable when others collapse, focused when others get lost, loyal when others drift, and committed when others crumble under pressure. It's about living in a way where heaven looks down and knows this one can be trusted with the story. So the mission is simple but heavy. Build the kind of spirit that doesn't break. Build the kind of character that doesn't bend. Build the kind of consistency that doesn't fade. Build the kind of discipline that doesn't depend on mood. And build the kind of presence that would make God whisper, give him the weight he can carry it, because there is no higher honor for a man than becoming the one creation itself can rely on, the one who stands firm when the world shakes, the one who walks forward when the path disappears, the one who understands that destiny isn't handed out, it's entrusted, and only 𝐓𝐇𝐄, the reliable, ever receive that trust. Until next time, keep working, keep grinding,